There are there are three types of online businesses that I have never seen fail, and I'm going to give you that right now. So, if you don't know who I am, this is Michael Malbrough from michaelmalbrough.com. And today I'm talking about online businesses that you could buy that literally I have not seen fail. Now, there are some caveats. Sometimes they will fail if the person who runs the business just stops. Outside of that, I haven't seen them fail. So, diving right into it, number one is the arbitrage businesses. So, arbitrage, if you don't know what that is, that basically means, let's say I found I don't know, a water heater, right? That's online for $50, but I see that I can't really find any other water heaters on sale for $50, and they're all like $120. If I am able to take that $50 one, take a picture of it, and post it somewhere where I know I can get it sold for $100, so I'm still the lowest, and I can direct traffic to that business almost never fails. Now, these businesses are not as easy to spot, but they're typically drop shipping businesses, right? So if you buy an arbitrage business, you're basically buying a drop shipping business. I'll be honest with you, this is my least favorite business model because of the fact that you have the least amount of control in the business. For example, if I have an arbitrage going on and I have that same situation where it's $50 and I'm able to sell it for $100, what happens if that item goes off of sale and next thing you know, they sell it for $98? Now I'm like, okay, well, it doesn't make sense for me to buy this or for me to arbitrage this anymore. And so you end up changing products often. This is one that I would say if you're going to do something like this, it's better to run almost like a deal of the day or a deal of the week. That way you can change out your products quickly. But herein lies another problem is that means that there's a lot more work involved in running an arbitrage business than maybe the next two that I'm going to tell you about. So arbitrage businesses rarely ever fail without the person just quitting. But if you've got the stamina to keep up with an arbitrage business, and that sounds like something that you'd like to do, it's a great business for someone who is a hustler. All right, so next you have lead generation. Now, if you've ever done lead generation before, you might be like, wait, hold on. How is this a online business that never fails? I will tell you this. Let's imagine that you can get a lead for $10, right? I'll tell you this, in the insurance industry, for example, because I'm in the financial services industry since 2017, I've been in financial services. And I know that you can get leads as low as $10 per lead. So imagine that you can get $10 a lead from your lead generation service. Now, here's the deal. What if I told you that the average lead that you could sell in the financial service industry was $25 to $50 for a lead, right? Essentially, you just turned a dollar into $2.50 to $5 for every time that you are able to sell a lead to someone who will then service them, right? So one thing to notice is that this is still an arbitrage business. It's just you're arbitraging something different. You're not arbitraging a product. You're arbitraging the ability to service someone. Now, here's the cool part about this. Let's say that you can still get a lead for $10 because you're great at promoting and marketing, but you service an industry that isn't what I do. Let's say you service an industry where the average sale brings in a commission of, let's say, $2,000 or $5,000, right? that person might say, okay, well, I'm willing to now pay $100 for a lead or $200 for a lead because I know I only need to talk to X amount of people in order to make a sale. So it's still profitable for me. That is the idea behind doing a lead generation business. And the great thing about it is you don't have to create huge swaths of content. You don't have to create some huge following. You can literally put up a couple of pages. I believe it's typically like 4 or 5 pages for a lead gen site. Run some ads to it. If you're decent at running ads and you know that you can have a small budget, then you can do that. Now, here's a great thing about this. If you buy a business that does lead gen, they've already proven that the business works, right? So you're essentially buying an income stream that all you have to do is run it. Now, why would somebody sell their lead generation business if they could be making that kind of money? Might be the type of question that you would ask, and I'd hope that you'd ask that question. So, people tend to be burned out in trying to find people to sell leads to. All right? If the leads are easier to get and you can make that kind of money, you can also potentially lose money at times if you're selling the leads too cheaply. You also have people who are competitive when the leads are not cheap, right? And so ultimately you still have to have some savvy. You can't just be like a dope. You gotta figure it out, and you gotta be a hustler still to do lead gen. All right. Now, my absolute favorite that never fails as long as you don't quit is the content business, right? So content businesses are things like if you have a social media site, right? If you have a YouTube channel or a blog, those businesses tend not to fail with a caveat. So that caveat is this. If you have a blog or you have social media sites and you have something happen with the algorithm that makes it where you get less organic traffic, that's where people will fail. And I'm going to tell you this because this is the best thing that I have ever done in my business career. You must diversify your traffic sources if you're going to use content sites. Meaning, if you can be taken down by a shift in anything, then you don't have a business that you control. So how do you diversify traffic? I'm going to give you a freebie, but if you want to learn more about this, you should go to michaelmalbrough.com/buybiz. Check out the course because I'm actually teaching you how to buy a business, and I'm giving you the strategies to help you to sustain and grow that business over time if you'd like, or how to just flip it. So if you have a content business and your goal is to diversify traffic, there are 3 traffic sources. I actually learned this from Russell Brunson, but there are traffic sources that you yourself use, right? So that's a traffic source like social media, something like that. You have traffic sources that you rent, right? So basically like that's ads. And then you have traffic sources that you own. So if you own a traffic source, you own it, right? You could have something happen where all of your social media gets shut down, your website stops getting any organic traffic, and this one thing will keep people coming back to you. So one of the best things you can do with any business you have is have an offer that entices people to allow you to contact them via email or via the phone, right? Now, that's the only thing. Even if you had your phone shut down, you could still send a letter. That's the craziest part about it, and most people don't think about this part. I have helped, through consulting, which is something I don't do as much anymore, but I have helped people to launch businesses successfully that still don't have and don't want to use the owned traffic sources, which blows my mind. But for some reason, they would rather create videos and get popular on the front end of their business than to own the back end of the business. And I will tell you this, I've helped, how I even got into the financial services industry, right? Quick story. I was working with a small local insurance agency. They were doing decent. They already had a couple $1 million. It was about $2 million worth of revenue that was coming in every year. I worked with them for about a year and immediately was able to double their revenue. All I did was put in owned traffic sources through email. That's all I did. Everybody who had already purchased, I sent them emails weekly and said, hey, you have this. Why don't you bundle with us? Here's why you should bundle. Every week it was something like that. We also had an email list of people who didn't buy. And I said, hey, we saw that you wanted some numbers. Let's run this again because the prices might have changed. Every single week, that's what I would send. Something along those lines. We also had people who were potential partners who would send deals to us so that we could sell them more insurance and they would get a cut. So we would send them things to help them to produce better. So things like, hey, are you struggling to, finally get that deal closed? Here's a great way to write content to close those deals. And through all of that, we doubled the income within a year. So owned income is the way for you to grow a business, period, in my opinion. Now, if you use other people's platforms to gain new followers and new subscribers, that's great. But I'll be honest with you. If you didn't have a way to, if you were completely banned from any social media or banned from creating any content or banned from running any ads, because it can happen. No one can ban you from owning a contact list. So I say that because, this is just my moment to be my high horse, I guess. But you should own your traffic source, at least one of them, and use the rent or used traffic sources to grow the owned traffic source, because you also own a business asset when you own that traffic source. And this is going to be my final point about content businesses. When you have a content business and you own your traffic sources and you basically have an email list or you have a contact list, if you're not just emailing people, you own an asset that is sellable. If somebody buys your business and you have an asset where you have engaged with those people consistently through your email list or through your contact list, you now have something that is separate. You can say, hey, I don't want to sell my business, but I want to create a little bit of income. So I'm going to sell a portion of my email list. You could also say, hey, when I'm selling this, I'm selling just the business, but I'm keeping my email list. Right? So there's lots and lots of value in having this owned traffic source and having a content business. Anyway, that's it for this video. I've talked a little longer than I wanted to, but hopefully this was valuable. If you have any questions, leave your questions below. You can check out the link below to check out the course, or you can go to michaelmalbrough.com/buybiz. Yeah, that's it for today, man. I'm glad I was able to help anybody out who needed it. If you want more, just leave a comment or go check out the course. All right, I'll talk to y'all later.